So we have just talked about the different kinds of mutations in our bodies, the biological mutations, and here's a quick rundown. If you haven't watched this already, I think you should go do that. So the first is a point mutation. The point mutation is when we have a single nucleotide on a sequence being changed. If we have ATT, and then this goes to ATA, for example, it's a point mutation. One point, one nucleotide is being mutated. And we have a frameshift mutation, which is caused by the insertion and deletion of a nucleotide or a series of nucleotides. And remember, if we have 3 nucleotides being added, it's not a frameshift, or deleted, it's not a frameshift mutation. And the reason being, just go look it up on the different video, you'll get it. And we have inversions, which is when we have the entire sequence on a chromosome or a specific number of nucleotides being inverted, they're just flipped around. And we have a chromosome amplification when chromosomes are amplified, they're copied, and this can cause translocation. Translocation is when we have 2 chromosomes which are not homologous, for example, chromosome 5 and 7, and they're exchanging genetic information from one another, and this is abnormal. This is called translocation. We have loss of heterozygosity, which is caused by transposons moving around and promoting mutations. So heterozygosity can be, this is when we have 2 chromosomes and one of them is not, it doesn't have the gene anymore, so we have hemizygosity being formed, and let's hope that this hemizygosity or this hemozygote gene is now not mutated, because our bodies are dependent on this one gene. Just like our lives are dependent on I don't know what, man. These days, I don't even know what. So here's a question to ask. What mutation is more harmful, a autosomal or sex-linked chromosome mutation? So the question is asking if we have an X chromosome or a Y chromosome, which are sex-linked chromosomes, compared to an autosomal chromosome, which could be pretty much any other chromosome besides the X and Y, which mutation will be more harmful, a autosomal or a sex-linked mutation? Well, the answer to that question can be given off by some brainstorming. So we have autosomal. So autosomal chromosomes are essentially heterozygotes. They have heterozygosity because every chromosome has a homologous chromosome. There are 2 pairs of these chromosomes, and if one of these chromosomes is messed up with a gene, it kind of goes cuckoo in the head due to a mutation, we have a backup which can be used. But this is not the same for sex-linked chromosomes, because guys have an XY and a woman has an XX. They're not homologous, and I'm going to get to that point in a second. You might be thinking the ladies got lucky once again, but that's not true, because only one of these X chromosomes is expressed and the other is silenced, and therefore it's still considered a hemizygosity, just like the boys. So this is just what I said. The XX is only one X is expressed, and we're going to talk about that in a future video. And really just means that during the early stages of I think I have this down here. No, I don't. During the early stages of a blastocyte being formed, and our bodies we're still nothing but cells. Our cells kind of randomly, if you're a female, is randomly gonna degenerate or just silence one of the sex-linked chromosomes, and therefore it means that only one X chromosome is expressing all the genes inside your body then for that cell. And this is why it's not a heterozygote. It doesn't have heterozygosity. Excuse me. We have something called haplosufficiency, which is this is when gene expression is insufficient because it's a hemozygote. Because the gene is a hemozygote now. What that means is, let's say that there is a certain gene that requires X amount of expression, and this expression is maintained by the fact that it's a heterozygosity. It has heterozygosity because it has 2 homologous chromosomes working on the production of a certain gene. And then one of these genes is deleted or mutated, then we just have one of the genes working on it. And when this happens, it's called haploinsufficiency. Haploinsufficiency is when, as I've written over here, it's insufficient amounts of gene expression, and it's not enough. It's called haploinsufficiency, and this is the impact a mutation can have. Are all mutations harmful, disease-causing? This is a very interesting question, and you might be thinking that every kind of mutation that happens in your body is bad, and you might be thinking this because we've been just talking about how bad it is and all the bad things it's been doing, but that's not true because if you think about it, mutations is one form of variation and it causes population diversity, and in the overall grand scheme we have variation being caused by mutations. So if we had a virus or if we had a disease that's common in a society, and if everybody had the same genes, then we all would be wiped out because we don't want the same genetic information, and more variation is always good. And this an example would be when we have crops, we can just cut them and they're genetically all the same, and this is a farming technique. And if you plant these plants just by it's a method, and I don't exactly remember the method's name, but if you have this method being used, and we have crops being kind of when farmers are reproducing these plants using this method of just cutting a leaf, and I think tomatoes are like that. Don't take my word on that. But the point is, if the genetic information of the entire population is the same, then a virus or a disease that inflicts one member of this population will wipe everything out, and we don't want that. Getting back to the question, are all mutations harmful and disease-causing? The answer to that question is no. Sometimes mutations can give resistance to genes. An example of this is sickle cell, and sickle cell is when we have the HB mutation. There's a mutation on the hemoglobin. So this gives immunity to malaria. So yes, there are causes and side effects of sickle cell, but when we look at the demographics of where sickle cell really originated, is where malaria is also a thing. And because malaria is killing a lot of people, our bodies have kind of found a way to mutate and give us resistance to this is called something called malaria. So we have resistance to malaria through sickle cell. Another example is the CCR5 gene chromosome. The CCR5 gene is located on chromosome 3, and this is when we have 32 base pairs missing. And guess what, everybody? It gives us immunity to HIV. That sounds really nice. I know it does, but if you have this mutation, you have no expression of HIV, and you can still pass it on though. So not that cool. So such mutations are expressed in gene pools where the disease is common. And we've talked about malaria. We talked about how sickle cell is expressed more in societies or regions with the disease itself. So sometimes mutations can be disease causing, and this is actually what happens most of the time. So we have something called inborn errors of metabolism, and this is just referring to any kind of mutation that causes an important gene for an important gene that codes for an important enzyme, and it disables the metabolism because there's a mutation on the gene, and therefore the enzyme is not produced properly or it's not translated properly. Because of this, there is a buildup of toxins, and this buildup of toxins is going to cause the disease, and there is a huge group of genetic diseases that are associated with disorders that are associated with the metabolism, inborn errors, and because of this, they're buildup of toxic compounds that can't be broken down by the deficiency of the molecules that are needed to be synthesized, and this is a crucial problem in our bodies. And this can happen in a lot of areas, such as in the amino acid, in the production of amino acids, or fatty acid oxidation, the mitochondria, or the in purines or pyrimidines, steroids, and really a lot of places. So it's just referring to any kind of mutation inside the metabolism that's not allowing metabolism to work properly. And then Another kind of, which might not surprise you actually, is cancer. So cancer is really the driving force behind cancer is an accumulation of mutations, and these mutations can be either it can be both actually. It can be inherited or it could be formed over the lifetime due to the exposure of a carcinogen, for example. Really, it's something that's causing our chromosomes to change massively, and these mutations are often in oncogenes and tumor suppressors, and this is why we have tumor expressors being a great area of research, because we know that these genes are really specifically causing these cancers to happen, and it's a promising target source for the development of treatment of cancer. So, in conclusion, we have to really understand that mutations are causing the gain of function sometimes. This is when we have, for example, a transposon jumping off from one chromosome from the donor site to the new site, and it's causing an increase of genetic expression in a new or abnormal way. It doesn't matter, but it's a gain of function. And sometimes it's a loss of function, for example, where the transposon is jumping off, it's reducing genetic expression, and hopefully our bodies are not just are not transporting are not these transposons are not transporting all these genes that will mess up our systems. And let's hope we are all